now.
Volume 333. Imagine trying to solve a small-town mystery only to find out you were its final piece. That's exactly what happened to Thatcher Davis in Mandela Catalog's Volume 333, a lieutenant at the Mandela County Police Department caught in something way above his clearance. After setting up surveillance in Jude Murray's house, Thatcher returns with Ruth Weaver the following night to investigate. His body cam captures the two walking through dim hallways while Ave Maria plays from nowhere, and when they find a hanging body near a static blaring TV, Ruth asks if anyone's left to handle it. Thatcher just sighs and calls it in because everyone else has already run. Then the signal breaks, and when he turns back, Ruth is gone. A door creaks open, bare footsteps echo, and when Thatcher calls out, he hears his own voice call back. The alternate starts mimicking him, then Jude and Ruth flipping through their lines as if rehearsing, which made him so annoyed. And then Amazing Grace starts playing as a long, pale arm slides into view, and Thatcher jumps through a window, running for his life. But the creature follows, venti-sized golem with a broken smile, floating through the station and repeating corrupted voices with every step. Thatcher opens fire. The screen flickers as the call hangs up. Then an "uh-oh, bad decision Thatcher" shows up on screen as the thing just laughs and continues taunting him. The tape ended with eerie footage of the alternates smiling uncannily at the camera before the credits rolled, then showed a statue of Christ's crucifixion as Gabriel slowly appeared from its back, suggesting that he's the mastermind behind all this. Bond's true form. Bond's true form is one that's shrouded in mystery and has been a subject of many speculations. On the surface, he's a blue humanoid rabbit animatronic, dancing and smiling like he belongs in a birthday party fever dream. But what's inside that suit is something else entirely. In the Walton Files, we find out that Bond isn't just possessed, he is possession himself. A sadistic, ghostly manipulator who exists in both the real world and a blank, liminal afterlife called Wonderland. In Episode 4, Cyber Fun Tech, we finally meet the real Bond, not the mechanical bunny, but the towering white figure with a twisted grin carved into his cheek, shifting size like the laws of physics don't apply. He lurks in Wonderland, a void for the dead, wearing pristine suits and talking as if he's in business. He whispers to Susan's fading spirit that she's suffocating in real life, then casually says, "Oh, where are my manners? Pleasure to meet you. My name is Bond and you're Susan." Then he offers her a gift, the Banny mask, her new vessel. When she hesitates, he comforts her with dead eyes and justifies everything with the line no serial killer should ever say.
You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
He smiles, changes into his blood-soaked animatronic form and pulls her in. And just like that, Bond gets a new friend.
Hey guys, it's me, Bond from the Walton Files. I'm the singer.
Criminal. What appears to be a simple animatronic test quickly becomes one of the most disturbing moments in the Five Nights at Freddy's VHS series. In facial recognition testing, an employee runs Toy Bonnie through a check where he identifies human faces, lifting his eyelids if he sees someone, and opening his mouth with a tone if the person is a criminal. At first, everything goes smoothly. Bonnie reacts to each image correctly, alternating between innocents and confirmed criminals like a very creepy lie detector in a bow tie. Then comes the 8th photo. The employee hesitates, asking why it's even in the lineup. Bonnie freezes for a second, then stands up like he's ready to commit a felony of his own. The man panics, tries to hold the animatronic down, and after a near electrocution, he snaps. He screams at whoever approved the image and quits on the spot, calling the place a death trap, which honestly feels like the first rational decision anyone's made in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. But the tape doesn't end there. A shadowy face lingers behind Bonnie, and then William Afton's face appears. The word criminal repeats 17 times as his face turns purple, stretches into a jagged smile, and locks into the screen. Because apparently even machines know evil when they see it. Harvester Anomaly. In Vita Canis, a special anomaly report, a quiet mapping of wildlife activity turns into something horrifying, and it starts with log number 014, tracking a sudden shift in harvester population between August and October 1989. It shows maps and heat signatures like it's prepping a weather forecast, then, without warning, cuts to home footage of a normal family, birds chirping, and two kids playing outside near the woods. One walks off deeper, while the other stares blankly ahead, and for a second it just feels wrong. The screen flickers to bulbous tendrils twitching in the brush. Harvester waits, buried in the earth, a fleshy plant creature that paralyzes prey with venom and thrashes them until they bleed out. You hear rustling, heartbeats, and then the screaming begins. A child's cries pierce through static as blood seeps across the footage, and maps resume like nothing happened. A third map shows harvesters' movement near Hudson Bay, but all you hear is that child still screaming. The video ends with a photo of the same family, now grotesquely altered, the mother and younger child visibly mutilated, implied to be victims of the attack, and despite it being killable with one shot, the government leaves it alone. Jack's call to Felix. Nothing's more heartbreaking and horrific than expecting your kids to get home safely, only for them to vanish without a trace. In the Walton Files, that nightmare becomes real when Felix Cranken fails to bring Ed and Molly home. After drinking heavily at a party, Felix drives them back and crashes the car, killing both children. He doesn't call for help. He doesn't confess. Instead, he buries their bodies in the woods and goes silent, leaving their father, Jack Walton, waiting for a call that never comes. The screen fades to black and the phone begins to ring. Felix's answering machine lights up, 25 new messages. One begins to play. It's Jack. His voice is unsteady at first, asking where Felix is, saying it's been 3 hours since he was supposed to bring the kids home. But then panic creeps in. Jack repeats that he's been calling all night, that something must have happened.
What happened to my shoulder? If anything happened, Felix, you must tell me. You haven't told me in 3 hours. I need to know what's going on.
He yells, demands answers, and his voice breaks again and again until finally his distorted face fades in, twisted by grief. The message cuts off mid-sentence and the screen goes dark, but it doesn't feel like it ended. It just feels like something broke and never got fixed.
What happened to my shoulder? If anything
Kennel dog.
What? Miss Melgren, you need to get out of there and return to your house immediately. I'm sending your information to the police right now.
What's going on?
Get the hell out of the kennel,
Okay,
now!
Fuck.
That's not an overreaction, but a valid expression, because imagine a mini colossal titan, skinned and almost skeletal, enters your house to fuse you and your dogs. In the Greylock tapes, tape 012 begins as another guided nightmare for a woman named Charlotte Melgren, who's asked to wear the TF Systems Neurovisor headset and stare into a tape designed to activate her subconscious. But things start slipping. Images glitch into surveillance footage from her kennel, where movement alerts keep triggering without explanation, and a towering figure crawls across the roof like it's trying not to be seen. Every night it returns, every alert gets corrupted. By the time Charlotte walks over to check the building, the dogs have gone completely still, standing like statues, eyes empty, as if something inside them had already been switched off. Security cameras show the creature inside the kennel, yet she sees nothing. Then the door disappears, the windows vanish, her flashlight is ripped away, and she realizes she's sealed in with something. When she whispers that her skin feels like it's moving, it's already too late. Later footage from a responding officer shows the worst of it. Charlotte is found in the basement, barely recognizable, partially fused with 2 of her dogs, tissue melted, limbs merged, breathing, and somehow still alive. Real Sleep. Local 58 second season episode 2 features a broadcast called Real Sleep, and if you've ever wondered what sleep therapy would look like if designed by aliens who flunked empathy class, this one delivers. Aired at 3 p.m. and addressed to Philip Gerhardt, the tape opens with a logo from the Thought Research Initiative and calmly announces that dreams are a waste of time. According to them, real rest isn't about peace, it's about killing your subconscious like it owes you money. The video walks you through 4 sequences, starting with flashing inverted faces, distorted audio, and commands to stare into the void until your brain forgets it had feelings. By sequence 3, you're chanting, "There are no faces," while being bombarded with dismembered facial features. Sequence 4 escalates with phrases like, "Dreaming is a cancer," and "Sleep is a scavenger," while the voice reminds you not to see a doctor because therapy is for the weak and sleep is for cowards. In that last phase, the right audio channel whispers, "I dream the world awake," over and over, and some believe that's the real signal. Theories suggest this is part of a long-running alien plot to brainwash humans into committing acts of violence, either in their sleep or wide awake after seeing the right trigger. So if your alarm clock starts speaking in tongues, maybe don't snooze it, just burn it.
There are no faces.
Multiple Alcatraz. In the Monument Mythos Alcatraz attack episode, things go from ominous to apocalyptic in the time it takes a prison island to go full biology textbook. It starts simple enough. Alcatraz sits quietly under heavy fog while military reels talk about therapy like they're treating a patient, not a national landmark. But it isn't long before footage reveals something deeply wrong. The prison's layout starts to resemble cell organelles, and soon the entire island is undergoing mitosis. Yes, mitosis. Alcatraz becomes a cell and it begins to divide, also known Alcatrazosis. At first, the military responds with radiation therapy, which sounds clinical until the screen turns blood red and the island starts duplicating itself. You don't expect a prison to act like it's in a Marvel origin story, but here we are. The episode escalates fast as multiple Alcatrazes erupt from the ocean, triggering emergency sirens that scream louder with every new duplicate. What starts as one island quickly becomes many, and the final frames imply these copies will keep spreading until they reach West Texas by 2020. By the end, it feels less like a containment failure and more like a landmass infestation. The United States isn't losing territory, it's being replaced one Alcatraz at a time. If continental mitosis were a disease, this one's terminal.
What's your emergency? Okay, now, what's the address?
The Rolling Giant. The third part of the oldest View series, The Rolling Giant, follows Wyatt, the vlogger/protagonist of the series, as he begins his expedition of the Valley View Center, a real-life mall that was demolished in 2023. He enters through the underground outlet, pushing through collapsed stairways and dim corridors until the space opens to reveal a strangely preserved mall full of art studios and displays. It seems quiet until the camera catches sight of a massive puppet on wheels. Called the Rolling Giant, this moving mascot with the face of a Mexican cartel dealer strolls across the mall as if he's the supervisor. At first, Wyatt thinks it's a prop, even greeting it. Hello? But the giant only answers with squealing wheels and thunder overhead. Each time he looks away, it rolls closer. He backs up, mutters he's trying to leave, but the thing keeps coming, ignoring escalators and appearing in different places around the mall. When Wyatt finally demands to know what it wants, the giant flickers the lights and reveals carcasses of horses and humans scattered in the shadows. That's when the chase begins. Wyatt sprints through stores and maintenance halls, trying every route the maps suggest, but each path folds back toward the giant. It rolls at him with enough force to smash walls, and when he makes it to the roof exit, the beam collapses beneath him. The final frames show his body drained of color as the puppet looms in the woods, thunder rumbling like applause. The mall never wanted customers, it wanted sacrifices. Closet Mimic. Living Meat Research Documentary 4 introduces the Mimic, a fleshy humanoid member of the Carnis family. At first, the tape keeps the tone clinical, explaining how these creatures stalk humans at night, feeding only when their target is most vulnerable. Their smile, packed with rows of incisors, is less friendly and more industrial shredder, and when their prey happens to be awake, they use sounds to disorient them. One of these is a sudden knocking that makes you feel like your soul just left your body. That's when the tape glitches and the clinical lecture flips into found footage. A victim rushes into a closet, panting, trying to stay silent. For a moment, it feels like the victim might make it, until fleshy fingers slide through the doorframe and eventually reveal the mimic's face. A gotcha moment for the fleshy entity. The video snaps back into warning mode, but all hope is gone in the last clip. Though the camera is angled on the opposite side, we see blood splatters and hear tearing sounds. The victim has been caught and is now being devoured by the mimic, turning the research into a raw meat mukbang. Bond's Ghost. Imagine you're just doing your graveyard shift work and suddenly a giant possessed animatronic shows up to kill you. That's exactly what happened to David Gonzalez. In the mini episode of Walton Files called Hotline, the tape starts light enough with the usual Bunny Smiles corporate cheer, hotline demonstrations, and even a bonus basket for employees. But when David actually calls the hotline for help, his fear is brushed off as nerves, leaving him stranded in the canine facility with something stalking him. That something turns out to be Bon. First, Charles Brooks' ghost lingers in the doorway, silent and unnerving, before Bon himself slowly creeps into view. He looms in the back doors, too tall for the frame. Bon vanishes and then reappears as Bond's ghost, or rather the spirit of Jack Walton, screaming into David's face. That scared the crap out of David and made him run for his life, but he failed. This appearance of Bond's ghost updates us on Bond's continuous recruitment for his cursed animatronic bar. Another day, another sleigh. Home invasion help. This poor guy didn't eat too much spaghetti, but was rather a victim of deep-root disease. Gemini Home Entertainment's Home Invasion Help starts like a boring PSA about preventing burglaries, walking you through locks, lighting, and alarms. Then it switches into something much worse, advice for the invaders themselves. Suddenly, it's no longer about keeping people safe, but about how to lure prey to the door, burrow under houses, and eventually enter the body with a proboscis. The cheery narrator never breaks character, which makes the shift all the more disturbing. The tape cuts from advice to a man exploring a house riddled with root growth, empty halls, abandoned rooms, and then the reveal, a humanoid figure tangled in vines. Its body is overtaken, but one eye is left uncovered, shifting slowly toward the camera, a reminder that the victim is still alive and aware. It's the stage of deep root disease no one wants to think about, where the body is trapped but the mind lingers. Before long, a woodcrawler arrives, tackles the cameraman, and the tape ends on the sound of his death. The training was never about safety, it was about teaching predators how to practice on us. Isabelle's phone call. Urban Spook's family episode of the Analog horror series shares a disturbing 911 phone call from Isabelle and their failed rescue. Police later uncovered two horrific crime scenes: the Jackson home, where Janice and Paul were slaughtered and mutilated, and Isabelle's own house, where her husband Bruce was stabbed, decapitated, and replaced with a painting. Isabelle herself was discovered in the bathroom with a drill hole in her skull and a riddle stuffed inside, but the tape makes us hear exactly how it happened. In her call, the dispatcher answers calmly as Isabelle cries that someone broke in and killed her husband. She hides in the bathroom, begs them to hurry, and admits the killers are still inside. The operator repeats to stay calm while the hammer drill shreds through the door and Isabelle sobs that she is about to die. He asks again if she has anything to defend herself and even wonders if there are windows, but by the time the killers break through, the drill is already driving into her skull. The line goes silent as the call cuts off. In the end, Isabelle did not get help, only another name on the painter's canvas, and the operator was anything but smooth. The signal. Connecting to a parallel universe might be one of the greatest scientific breakthroughs, but what if that connection leads to our deletion? In Arcadia's The Signal episode, Dr. John Walker builds the first machine to send and receive transmissions beyond our world. The first contact, called PW1, seems safe. They pass the image test with normal scenes of nature, a dog, and themselves, even agreeing to collaborate on a device that could bridge both realities. Then comes PW2. Their connection is unstable, their replies clipped, and their image test reveals a dead landscape, a deformed animal, and a distorted figure blurred into something inhuman. The station cuts ties immediately, but the damage is done. When the machine is finally activated to link with PW1, PW2 forces its way through instead. The system stalls at 99%, alarms fail, and the last message is clear. We see you, the doors to your world are open. That phrase reframes everything in Arcadia, from the deep-sea broadcast attack to the strange creatures crawling into caves. These may all be intrusions from universes that were never meant to touch. The experiment did not just make contact, it gave them the address. Lacy's wardrobe. What started as a Jurassic dress to impress game took a wrong turn to cannibalistic incel town. Lacy's wardrobe begins bright and cheerful, letting players pick hairstyles and outfits, but the tone quickly cracks. A face lingers in the picnic background, a phone call interrupts with heavy breathing, and the voice insists he cannot wait for their night together. By the mall sequence, the well-done text is replaced with "please help," and the window behind her shows the same face watching. The game glitches harder at night. Knocking plays in the background, and one clothing option reveals a heart-shaped box left on her doorstep. The box drips red, the phone rings again, and the stalker whispers that he is outside. Across the screen, text flashes as Lacy begs, "Please do not make me go outside." But the player does, and the congratulations screen cuts to her final words, "What have you done?" Like she knew her fate from the start. The scene continues with Lacy screaming to death before showing her butchered torso and limbs. By the end, the stalker confesses, "I ate her so we would be together forever." Too bad for him, he will be parting with her in the toilet soon. The title screen resets, cheerful as ever.
Lacy, I own you.
The Boy and the Bath. Focusing on Dr. Nowhere's entity called guilt, this episode explores the lore of this tall, white figure. Shown lingering by the bathroom near an overflowing tub, guilt represents the crushing weight of a parent's failure. The setting hints at what happened or what was imagined. A child left alone, drowned, and replaced by a presence that never lets the parent forget. Its voice lines seal the idea.
Why did you leave me here? I never adjusted to you.
A mockery of grief turned into accusation. When it leans closer, the words sharpen.
I know you heard me. It was all your fault.
The entity feeds on guilt itself, turning memory into torment until the parent either caves or denies it ever happened. Guilt may be a hallucination or a manifestation, but either way, the parent is trapped. You cannot argue with a ghost that only exists to guilt trip you forever.
Why did you leave me here?
The Backrooms. Imagine you're just filming your low-budget movie, then all of a sudden, you're in an empty and strange liminal space. Welcome to the Backrooms, a place Kane Pixels accidentally falls into after stepping backward during a film shoot. One moment, he's shooting a fake ape scare, the next he's standing in an endless maze of yellow walls with that familiar buzzing that makes your brain itch. Kane keeps walking, camera rolling, calling out for help that never comes.
Can anybody hear me?
Behind him, something moves, a shape that hides whenever he looks back. He finds a slit in the wall, a ladder, and rooms that all look the same. The deeper he goes, the more it feels alive, like the walls are watching. Then he spots arrows painted on the wall, leading to a crude face with words underneath. One line reads, "Don't move, stay still." That's when the scream starts. The creature, known as the life form, charges after him, distorted and howling. Kane runs, diving into a pit as the footage twists into static. When the image clears, he's in a basement with stairs leading to another level, then a gallery with windows, a courtyard, and an endless chasm lined with lights. Every exit sign brings him back to yellow. A chair flies from the dark, the monsters howl close behind. Kane hides, trembling until a low hoo echoes through the pit. The last thing recorded is the camera falling, glitching, then reappearing high above the world before crashing into pieces. Now, Kane's corpse is forever trapped there, rotting in the endless, uncanny halls with the entities that hunt the lost. And if you ever feel the floor soften beneath you, pray you don't fall where he did. Adam's abduction. The intruder's abduction of Adam Murray wasn't just a tragic moment in the Mandela Catalog, but a hint at the protagonist's true identity. It starts with a calm voice on a television telling parents that if they hear their baby crying in front of the TV, they should wait until the noise stops. Then the sound cuts, replaced by real crying and the soft hymn of Ave Maria. Lynn and Jude Murray stand outside their infant's room, frozen as the crying continues. Lynn steps inside, calls for her baby, and finds the crib empty. The crying doesn't stop, and now it's coming from the television. When she approaches, the screen flickers and shows a smiling figure known as Six, or the intruder. The song halts, and Lynn slowly begins to lift from the floor, her body rising as though pulled upward by something unseen. A click echoes, the lights go out, and the visuals change. The nursery is gone, replaced by a cold, realistic image. The crib is now a coffin, and Lynn hangs lifeless beside it while Ave Maria resumes. Across the screen, text repeats the words, distraught at the sight of her missing infant, forcing the horror to sink in. Later, the intruder refers to Adam Murray as two separate beings, implying that the child taken in 1992 never survived. The Adam we follow might only be a copy made from that night. The real Adam remained behind, just another stolen child in the hands of the intruder. Love Thumper, the star of Dr. Nowhere's TOE trilogy, Locust, has a few disturbing moments just like the boiled one, but probably one of his most eerie scenes is a found footage encounter with him. It begins in the early morning of March 13th, 2005, when a man starts filming his television in total darkness. At first, nothing seems wrong until a figure appears on the screen. It's the Locust, a tall shadowed humanoid with long tendrils that reach the floor. The cameraman tries to talk to it.
What do you want?
Probably thinking he's losing his mind, the creature responds like a child, mumbling that it's hungry. When the boy tells it to,
"Please go away,"
the TV starts to shake. Cracking sounds fill the room as Locust smashes the glass again and again until his arm bursts through the screen. The boy runs and hides in a closet, heart racing, turning the volume down to silence. But silence doesn't save him. The creature pushes the door open, hiding behind it for a moment before peeking through, testing if its prey will move. He doesn't. Locust steps inside and the camera drops. What follows is only static and muffled sounds before the footage ends on a blood-stained wall and a broken screen. Text flashes, reading, "The body appeared untouched." Though the body may seem to look untouched, the Locust did harvest the organs with a god-level precision, leaving a clean slaughter not even AI can copy. Hell, it's never not a gory and horrifying moment without the painters, but what's more terrifying is a live action demo of them creating their artwork. The episode Hell begins with Louisiana police investigating an abandoned factory after a midnight tip. Inside, they find a gallery of horror where human parts are stitched into clothing and paintings match missing victims. In one room, half-eaten corpses sit under the word breakfast painted across the wall, showing the painters didn't waste their materials. Written on the walls is the phrase, "Once you've been to hell, you never come back." Officers connect it to Tina Rosenberg, a survivor whose words sound more like a curse. Following that lead, Officer Nathan Cole performs a wellness check at her home. His body camera captures what follows. Tina lies on a bed screaming while her mother's body is in the kitchen. The painters are there too, Bill Collins and Mona Lanius. Bill charges only to get shot by Cole. Mona, on the other hand, looks unbothered as she smiles, but surrenders nonetheless. Tina keeps screaming, her eyes and ears punctured, unaware that she has been rescued. The footage breaks as the red filter burns into the screen, the sound twisting into pure static. This mortifying scene became the killer's last and unfinished masterpiece, a grim reminder of why art schools should stop rejecting people, or else we'll end up with either the psychosexual artists or worse, the Austrian painter.
Those people took me to hell.
Rosemary's death. Before possessing the sheep animatronic, Shah, Rosemary was a loving mother, an artist, and the quiet backbone of Bunny Smiles Incorporated. She had already lost 2 of her children, Ed and Molly, in a crash caused by Felix Kranken, and her husband Jack had vanished without a trace. Grief turned her days into a cycle of searching and silence, her visits to Bond's Burgers more desperate each time. In the early hours of July 20th, Rosemary entered the restaurant one last time. She heard a voice calling from the backstage, calm and familiar, saying, "I know where he is, Rosie. Follow me." Still clinging to hope, she followed, unaware she was walking straight into her own end. Waiting for her was Bond, no longer a mascot but a killer. The voice belonged to him now. He spoke to her briefly before attacking, tearing her apart piece by piece until there was nothing left to recognize. Her body was rearranged and stuffed into the Shah animatronic, sealing her inside the character she once designed. When the scream stopped, a shadowy figure entered the room. Bond's Burgers shut down soon after. Turns out, love really can make you lose your head. Liberty Lurker. When it comes to immigration control, ICE agents are nothing but mids and NPCs compared to the mysterious Liberty Lurker. The second episode of the Monument Mythos begins with a recovered interview from Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, the sculptor of the Statue of Liberty, who explains that the hardest part of the construction was the pedestal. For years, the size requirements kept changing until the instructions suddenly stopped. What followed decades later would explain why. During the renovations, engineers discovered sealed chambers beneath the statue, blueprints labeled STLI 1.8084, classified for more than 30 years. By 1954, immigrants at Ellis Island reported a foul odor drifting across the bay. Witnesses claimed to see people being escorted into the statue by uniformed men, only for the smell to worsen the next day. In August 1985, it finally emerged. Crawling out of the Statue of Liberty itself, the Liberty Lurker revealed itself as a living parasite of the monument. It feeds on the lost, manipulating reality to pull people through cracks in space, swallowing them whole without leaving a trace. It can alter its size, speak inside your head, and invade dreams. Part of it still rests beneath the statue, waiting for the next ship to dock. Freedom never came free. Some people were just a payment. Angel Corps. Exploiting one angel isn't enough for humanity's needs. That's why the Second Tower of Babel made lethal nerfed versions of it called the Angel Corps. When asked to rate the pain during the demo, the restrained metal being mutters a trembling 10. And the scientist nods with satisfaction, like it's some BDSM roleplay. The machine's vitals spike, its body twitching under wires as if heaven itself is trying to short-circuit it back. Later, journalist Russell Westbrook interviews Stephen Eckelbloom, the man behind the project, who proudly introduces the Angel Corps as soldiers of steel, miniature versions of the original Angel engine. He talks about efficiency and progress while the robot stands behind him, silent but watching. Then, without warning, the robot places its hand on Westbrook's shoulder. The journalist turns into a skeleton wrapped in moss and vines, his body decaying into a biblically accurate fossil. Eckelbloom screams for the cameras to cut, but it's too late. Humanity built angels again, only to find they're still terrible at taking orders.
What is going on? Get him off me.
The morgue. Her life was so tragic, her corpse started to cry in the morgue. That's the hair-raising final appearance of Tiffany Crisaldi, or maybe her first as a thought form. Tiffany is a school teacher from Mount Greylock who lost everything after the disappearance of her unborn child. Her grief quickly turned into isolation, and by May 18, 1987, she was found dead under mysterious circumstances. During her autopsy, medical examiner Dr. Heinrich Albrecht discovered black tears leaking from her eyes and strange symbols carved into her abdomen. The markings were unlike anything he had seen, and the smell of decay mixed with something almost chemical filled the room. After finishing the examination, Heinrich and his assistant stored Tiffany's body in the freezer. Moments later, they heard the sound of a woman sobbing. Security footage showed the freezer door creaking open by itself, and Tiffany's faint face peering through the gap. Not long after, her face took over the whole screen, ending the video with a disturbing smile. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe before you become the next tape.